Jeff adjusted his sunglasses, despite the fact that there was no sun, only a swirling vortex of greenish-purple clouds above. The chaotic arena stood before him and Arthur, a looming cathedral of madness, its walls constantly shifting between crumbling ruins and pristine Gothic architecture, as if reality itself couldn't decide what the aesthetic should be. Arthur, ever the cautious one, sighed. "You hear that, Arthur? That's opportunity calling." "No. That's the wind screaming because it's possessed," Arthur muttered, watching as a spectral gust howled through the air, briefly forming the word doom before vanishing. Before Arthur could talk him out of it, a booming voice echoed across the arena. "Welcome, contestants, to chaos, to glory, to your inevitable suffering." The host of Chaotic Arena materialized before them, stepping onto an elevated floating platform. He was a trickster demon, dressed like a showman from a dimension where top hats were made of living shadows and capes had minds of their own. His grin stretched unnervingly wide, revealing far too many teeth. "I am your host, Mischief Maximus, and you brave, or incredibly foolish competitors have entered the grandest reality competition in all the supernatural realms, Most Chaotic Being." The crowd of contestants roared, though some literally roared, considering that half of them weren't human. A towering Mothman flexed its wings, a werewolf cracked its knuckles, and a poltergeist shattered a chandelier in excitement. Arthur tensed beside Jeff. "We need to be smart about this. Lay low, don't attract attention." Jeff, already waving to the crowd, grinned. "What? Sorry, I was too busy basking in my future victory." Arthur groaned. "We're going to die." Mischief Maximus clapped his clawed hands. "Our first challenge is the haunted obstacle course. Survive the gauntlet of peril, and you'll make it to round 2. Fail, and you'll be eliminated." Vampire in the crowd raised a hand. "By eliminated, do you mean—" "Yes," Maximus said cheerfully. Arthur paled. "Jeff, I am begging you. Don't make this worse." Jeff cracked his knuckles. "Buddy, if we're gonna go loud." The arena transformed in an instant. Massive swinging blades, rivers of lava, ghostly hands reaching from the ground, and some kind of multi-eyed abomination lurking in a corner, watching. "Begin!" The ground beneath them cracked open, and chaos erupted. Arthur immediately sprinted toward the safest route he could find, dodging ghostly chains that tried to wrap around his ankles. Jeff, on the other hand, jumped directly into the nearest death trap. "Woo! Free ride!" he yelled as he leapt onto a rolling boulder covered in screaming souls. Arthur dodged a fireball and nearly got impaled by a spiked pendulum. "Jeff, get off of that!" Jeff, now surfing the cursed boulder as it careened down a twisting path of doom, shot finger guns at Arthur. "I got this." He did not have this. The boulder exploded into shadowy fragments, launching Jeff high into the air. He flipped 3 times, landed perfectly on the back of a spectral horse that was not part of the challenge, and rode it through a flaming hoop. The audience went wild. Arthur, crawling under a crumbling bridge, just covered his face with his hands. "This is fine. This is totally fine. My partner is somehow making allies with the undead and defying all known physics. This is fine." Jeff, now waving to the crowd as the ghost horse galloped through a field of spikes, cupped his hands around his mouth. "Hey, Arthur, look! I'm a chaos cowboy!" Arthur did not look. One by one, contestants were taken out, tangled in spirit traps, swallowed by abyssal pits, or just yeeted into oblivion by Maximus' surprise hand of doom, a giant spectral hand that occasionally snatched people off the course for fun. When Arthur finally made it to the finish line, sweaty, exhausted, and absolutely done, he expected to see Jeff in a pile of rubble. Instead, Jeff stood on a victory podium, wearing a championship belt that was definitely not part of the challenge. Mischief Maximus chuckled, impressed. "I don't know how. I don't know why. But Jeff wins this round." Arthur's eye twitched. What? How?" Jeff just grinned. "Arthur, my friend, the key to chaos is confidence." Arthur just sighed. We are so doomed. Arthur had seen a lot of bad ideas in his life. Jeff alone was responsible for at least 90% of them. But this was a new low. "The next challenge is the Chaos Heist," Mischief Maximus announced, twirling a cane that was absolutely not there a second ago. "You must infiltrate the heavily haunted vault, bypass its ghostly defenses, and steal the coveted crown of unrelenting mayhem. The contestants murmured amongst themselves. A swamp monster flexed its slimy fingers. A vampire cracked its knuckles. A cryptid with too many eyes just blinked a lot. Arthur frowned. All right, this time, Hey everyone, Arthur and I are totally stealing the crown first. Arthur turned so fast he nearly gave himself whiplash. Jeff grinned, already waving at the competition. Just putting it out there. You know, for the spirit of the game. A werewolf bared its teeth. You're dead, man. Arthur pinched the bridge of his nose. Jeff, we are supposed to be stealthy. Jeff shrugged. Stealth is just chaos with patience. Before Arthur could argue, the vault doors groaned open. A giant, shifting mass of metal and cursed stone. A spectral wind howled from within, chilling the air. The challenge had begun. Arthur immediately mapped out a careful plan. Avoid the ghostly sentries, stick to the shadows, move efficiently. Jeff immediately walked straight in, waving. Yo, any ghosts in here? Arthur dragged him behind a crumbling pillar. Are you trying to get us eliminated? Jeff pointed. Dude, check it. Arthur followed his gaze, and immediately regretted it. A giant, angry poltergeist floated in the center of the vault, its form shifting between a Victorian nobleman, a spectral dragon, and, randomly, a very angry chair. Arthur tensed. That's the vault's guardian. If it sees us, hey pal. Arthur watched in horror as Jeff strolled right up to the poltergeist and extended a handshake. Big fan of your work. Love the whole angry furniture aesthetic. The poltergeist froze. The other contestants, some hiding, some trying to break into the vault through different means, watched, equally confused. Then, after a long, tense moment, the poltergeist shook Jeff's hand. Arthur's brain short-circuited. You... what? How? Jeff leaned in conspiratorially. Ghosts get bored, man. He gestured behind him. You want to haunt someone else for once? The poltergeist grinned. The vault shuddered. The ghost exploded outward in chaotic glee, flinging tables, walls, and unfortunate contestants across dimensions. The competition was thrown into chaos. A vampire ducked as an airborne goblin screamed past. What did you do? Jeff, already walking toward the unguarded treasure, shrugged. I made a friend. Arthur followed, jaw clenched. That's not how heists work. Jeff grabbed the crown of unrelenting mayhem from its pedestal. Immediately, the entire vault rumbled. Oh, Jeff said, this is gonna be cool. Arthur yanked his sleeve. Run. Behind them, the vault began to collapse in on itself, walls twisting, space folding, and what could only be described as an existential scream shaking the arena. Contestants scrambled for their lives. Jeff jumped on a flying bookshelf and rode it like a surfboard. Arthur sprinted behind him, dodging falling debris. Jeff, I swear to every entity listening, if we survive this... Jeff struck a pose. You're welcome. They crashed through the exit, landing right in front of Mischief Maximus, who arched a brow at the absolute destruction behind them. Arthur wheezed. We're dead. We're so dead. Jeff tossed the crown to Maximus. Boom. Stole it. Maximus looked at the crown, looked at Jeff, then burst into delighted cackles. And Jeff wins again. Arthur stared at the sky. This isn't real. This isn't real. Jeff slung an arm around his shoulders. Buddy, we're just getting started. Arthur had made peace with a lot of things. The fact that Jeff had somehow made it to the final round of a supernatural competition meant to crown the most chaotic being? Not one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, eldritch horrors, spectral anomalies, and deeply confused mortals. Mischief Maximus boomed from his floating platform. We have arrived at the final showdown. The remaining contestants had been eliminated, some vaporized, some flung into alternate dimensions. One just straight up quit after Jeff tricked him into arguing with himself for an hour. Now, only Jeff remained. And his final opponent? Madame Wylena, the ghostly opera singer. She floated onto the stage, a translucent figure wrapped in a flowing, tattered gown. Her eyes glowed hauntingly. And when she opened her mouth, a single, chilling note filled the air, making the arena walls tremble. Arthur swallowed. Jeff, please, for once, Take this seriously. Jeff adjusted his sunglasses, that he did not have before. Arthur, I was born for this. Arthur sighed, already planning his escape route. Mischief Maximus grinned. The rules are simple. Each competitor must perform their most chaotically powerful musical number. Whoever disrupts reality, the most wins. Madame Wylena raised her ghostly arms. The air grew thick with supernatural energy. Then she sang. The sound was glorious and horrifying, a soprano so powerful that the very fabric of existence warped. The arena rippled, chandeliers shattered, the sky cracked open, and ghostly figures wept in awe. Arthur grabbed onto the stage for dear life. She's summoning a storm. Lightning tore across the sky. Jeff cracked his knuckles. All right, my turn. Arthur turned. Wait, what do you mean? Jeff reached into his coat and pulled out a kazoo. Arthur's soul left his body. No. Jeff, no. Jeff grinned. And then he played the worst kazoo solo in the history of the universe. It wasn't just bad, it was a weapon. The sound defied logic, bending space and time itself. Contestants screamed, the air rippled, the ground shook, demons cried. Somewhere in another realm, a cosmic entity woke up in distress. Arthur clutched his ears. Make it stop. But Jeff did not stop. He doubled down. He played a kazoo rendition of Careless Whisper. The arena collapsed. Madame Wylena screamed, not in song, but in terror. Her ghostly form flickered violently, struggling against the sheer chaotic absurdity of the kazoo. And then, she stopped singing. Silence fell. The storm vanished. The crowd stared. Jeff lowered the kazoo. Mischief Maximus blinked, then threw his head back and howled with laughter. And the winner, Jeff! Arthur fell to his knees. Jeff held up the trophy of chaos, grinning. See, Arthur? Confidence. Arthur stared at the wreckage. You just defeated an eldritch opera singer with a kazoo. Jeff nodded. Damn right I did. Mischief Maximus clapped a hand on Jeff's shoulder. Congratulations, my chaotic champion. And your prize? A lifetime invitation to return for Season 2. Arthur twitched. No. Jeff slung an arm around him. Hey, Arthur, guess what? Arthur exhaled sharply. Please don't. Jeff winked. We're coming back. Arthur screamed internally.